This is your family's first and most important line of defense against Mother Nature. When she strikes, make sure you call the people that I trust, my family and friends at Exterior Home Solutions.
With Eric Kane, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com. It's the Exterior Home Solutions 2-minute drill on this Saturday. It's Specialist Day. Got a chance to talk to Mike Eckler, Tennessee Special Teams Coordinator, Jackson Ross, Matthew Solansky, and then a couple of defensive guys. Before we get to the defensive guys, let's talk about the special teams unit. Mike Eckler has never lacked confidence, Eric Kane. He total belief and confidence that this is going to be his best special teams unit since he's been at Tennessee.
Yeah, it's not a can this be your best unit, it's will this, and this will be your best unit, and that's kind of what he was correcting some of us in the media about. But no, a lot of confidence there, and he should. Josh Tuberville talking about kickoffs, he's got a leg, and we saw that all last year. Jackson Ross, his dynamic ability of punting from each leg, rugby style, traditional. I think there's a lot of stuff they can do with him potentially down the line, but there's a lot of things to be excited about there. And then, of course, you got a kicking battle right now, but it's going to be Max Gilbert, who has a nice leg and just needs some experience. So I think he's confident in his cover units, how they've had a lot of success there in punt coverage, and obviously the return game and punts, not necessarily in kickoffs, but there's a lot to be confident about, and Mike Eckler certainly is.
Well, it would be interesting to see how that place kicker job goes and how Gilbert handles himself, because you can do the team tunnels and you can do all the, quote, pressure situations you can find. There's nothing like pressure kicking in front of a crowd. We saw that with Jackson Ross last year. The crowd kind of bothered him. So I think getting that first one under his belt will be important for Max Gilbert. Punt returner, sounds like he feels like he's got 4 or 5 guys. Who's that's going to be? We might see 3 or 4 different ones in the opener against Chattanooga, it sounds like.
Yeah, and again, kind of going back to what we said a moment ago, it's not like – it feels like since Valus has been gone, they don't try to return kicks.
Right.
But they do try to return punts. That's something where they think they can affect the game. And, we've seen Boo Carter return some punts. We've seen Squirrel White return some punts. We'll see if some other guys are in that situation. But I do think that is a spot in the third phase of the game where they're trying to affect the game and try to make up some yardage. But it does feel like there's not a D. Williams. There's not a Bayless Jones. It's more open this year. So maybe we'll see not just one guy, but maybe a couple.
Yeah, a couple of defensive players talked today, too. It's strong side defensive end day. Tyree West speaking, and then Jason Jenkins speaking. Kind of two, I don't want to say forgotten guys, but a little bit of forgotten guys, because the whole defensive line's been talked about as a whole.
Yeah. And
when you talk about them as a whole, it's all the veteran interior guys and James Pierce. But on the other side, they're diverse. They're very different. Jason Jenkins, Tyree West seem to have a real good chemistry. They've worked together in the offseason. Both have pushed each other. That side of that defensive line is going to be fun to watch when they're not in that Rabbits package, because they can throw a bunch of different guys at you.
Yeah, think about how successful that position was last year with Tyler Barron. He had 5.5 sacks or 6 sacks or whatever it was. It's important for that position to be productive. That way it takes some pressure off James Pierce on the other side, or whoever's in at Leo. But I like the skill set. We saw Tyree West kind of come out of the shell a little bit there in that bowl game. He played some as a freshman. He was in there on that Rabbits package. And you've heard a lot of talk over the offseason about Jason Jenkins, how he just continues to chip away. And I think he's one of those examples of very much a developmental player. But if you stay in the system and you create good habits and you transition your body, you're going to play down the line. I think he's a perfect example of that. And then you throw in Tyree Weathersby, who didn't speak today. But that, and along with Dominic Bailey, who is the starter that nobody talks about, it just goes to show you, again, so many options and so much depth for that defensive line.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch those guys. We'll see how big of a step Weathersby can take from that bowl game, or West could take from that bowl game, He talked about the confidence he gained there. And I think Jason Jenkins is carrying himself with more confidence. One quick note from practice. Nico did not practice again today, still dealing with that stomach bug, not an issue or a concern, but he did not practice today. So for anybody who asked about that, that is right. He did not practice. Tennessee off tomorrow, back to the practice field on Monday. Josh Heupel meets the media on Monday, and it's mock game week. We'll have all of it covered for you at Volquest.com.